Chicago, a city of steel and struggle, jazz and blues, deep dish pizza, and deep wounds. Behind the bright lights of downtown, the South Side tells a different story. One of survival, power, and a gang that has become legendary, the Black Disciples. The story begins in the early 1960s with a young man named David Barksdale, better known as King David. At just 13 years old, he was already a leader. By the time most kids his age were worrying about homework, David was uniting crews of young black men in the projects under one banner, the Black Disciples. His vision was bigger than petty street fights. He wanted structure, loyalty, and a legacy that would outlive him. The 6-point star became their symbol, borrowed from the Star of David, but redefined with their own meaning. Love, life, loyalty, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. To his followers, King David wasn't just a gang leader, he was a prophet of the streets. But with power comes rivals. On the other side of Chicago, Larry Hoover was rising with the Gangster Disciples. At first, the two men tried unity, forming the Black Gangster Disciples. But egos, money, and the streets always find a way to divide. The alliance broke, and what followed was a bloody civil war that turned the South Side into a battlefield. By the 1970s, King David was gone. Tuberculosis took his life at just 27. But death didn't end the Black Disciples. It made them larger than life. His funeral drew thousands, and his name still echoes through the streets to this day. Without King David, the BD family went through years of shifting leadership. Marv Thompson, known as Big Marv, would rise as one of the most powerful bosses in the 1990s. He ran operations like a Fortune 500 company with drug lines that stretched coast to coast. The federal government estimated his organization made millions every year. But like many empires, the feds eventually caught up. In 2004, Thompson was sentenced to life in prison, a reminder that no one, no matter how powerful, is untouchable. But while leaders came and went, the BD name remained strong. And with the arrival of the 2000s, a new force brought the Black Disciples to the world stage, Chicago drill music. In the neighborhood now called O Block, named after fallen member Odie Perry, young rappers like Chief Keef, Lil Durk, King Von, and Fredo Santana carried the BD legacy into music. Their songs weren't just rhymes, they were street reports, raw and unfiltered. Lyrics about the struggles, the losses, and the wars with rivals like the Gangster Disciples and the Mickey Cobras. For millions of listeners around the world, drill became the soundtrack of Chicago's streets, and the Black Disciples became household names. O Block itself turned into a symbol. Some call it the most dangerous block in America. To outsiders, it's infamous. To those who live there, it's home, family, and identity. But the legacy of the Black Disciples is a double-edged sword. For every Chief Keef who makes it out, countless young men remain trapped in cycles of poverty, violence, and revenge. The 6-point star can mean unity and pride, but it can also mark you as a target. Today, the Black Disciples are not just a Chicago gang. They're a global brand in the underworld. From the projects of the South Side to lyrics blasting through headphones in Europe, their presence is undeniable. But it all started with one teenager in the 1960s, a kid named David Barksdale who dreamed of building an army, and he did. More than half a century later, the name Black Disciples still commands respect, fear, and fascination. This is Street Files, and this has been the story of the Black Disciples.